Okay, boxing fanatics, welcome to the 16th episode of the podcast. Delighted to be joined once again by Mr. Oscar Pick. Oscar, and obviously we're going to discuss Dave Allen knocking out Johnny Fisher last night in the fifth round. I have to be honest, when I saw Dave Allen come on the scales on that Friday weigh-in, I actually wrote him off completely. I have to say, I saw him on the scales and I was thinking, here we go again. Dave Allen, best camp ever. I was thinking, okay, Fisher's just going to win a wide decision, and that'll be it. And then Dave Allen, that might be the last payday for Dave Allen. But he proved me and he proved a lot of people wrong with quite an impressive knockout. To be fair, it was quite a good knockout. Yeah. What was your reaction to last night's result?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I thought the exact same as you. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what everyone felt when you see him jump on the scales and he's got this sort of Teletubby physique. It's quite comical, really. Yeah. And yeah, I think that Dave Allen, he's clearly just one of these fighters that can just pull a rabbit out the hat. Like especially in the heavyweight division, where you can a lot of the stuff you can get away with as a heavyweight, you just simply can't in the lighter divisions. But if you've got power, if you've got a good chin, if you're strong, then these are some of the key attributes that you need to be a heavyweight at this level. Uh, so yeah, anywhere kind of around domestic level, English title level, which is where this fight was. You can never write someone like Dave Allen off because he's got those attributes. So it was always a possibility, but I was like you. I thought Johnny Fisher would box to a wide points decision, and it seemed like he was on course to do that in
Mm.
those sort of first few rounds. But then I did kind of think to myself, these tactics from Johnny Fisher, where no one will mention Johnny Fisher and um, defensive technician in the same breath, would they? But it seemed like he was trying to, do a little bit of a back foot clinic, a little bit of a boxing clinic on the back foot, and it looks a bit, yeah, strange in
Mm.
terms of the optics of it, seeing this big lump, this big sort of guy is known as a bit of a wrecking machine, try and box on the back foot and try and be a little bit slick. And to his credit, it was working, and that was simply just because he was pumping out the jab and he was more active than Dave Allen. And Dave Allen really just didn't do a lot in those first three or four rounds. Um, but then I was thinking to myself, well, how long is Johnny Fisher going to be able to sustain this for? Because obviously the movement was, it wasn't a fluid sort of performance, but he was quite active in terms of his output, and he was obviously moving his feet quite a lot. So I was thinking, well, I'm not sure how long he's going to sustain this for. And then I think you could kind of see he started getting a little bit more laboured. He started, I think, fatigue sort of crept in a little bit around the fourth round. And yeah, obviously Dave Allen, he landed a few big shots before he actually put Johnny
Mm.
Fisher down. And it was one of his sort of signature overhand rights that really wobbled him in that fifth round. And then
Mm.
obviously that left hook that sort of scrambled his senses. That's what led to the knockdown, the first knockdown, and then yeah, that left hook that he landed to basically put his lights out was just brutal.
Mm.
Like, yeah, to see Johnny Fisher's head kind of swing round like that, you did kind of think to yourself immediately, like, oh, I really do hope he's okay here because the way he went down, he was obviously, on the canvas for
Mm.
longer than, is what's sort of considered comfortable, I guess. And yeah, obviously it was a brutal knockout. There's no two ways around it. But you look at Dave Allen now, and he's largely revitalized his career. There's a lot of fun fights that he can be involved with now, and I guess it's a bit of a rebuild job for Johnny Fisher now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good point about heavyweights. I mean, yeah, it's not a bodybuilding contest, but I mean, the way Dave Allen looked on the scale was just like he looked like he didn't train. I mean, we've seen like obviously, I don't know, maybe Tyson Fury has looked pretty bad on the scales before as well. So the heavyweight division is almost like a completely different sport, isn't it, to the other weight divisions? And yeah, I mean, Fisher. I mean, I think that was the right tactic after the first fight, if that makes sense. I feel like because I don't know, I think I think he was on course to winning on points, but as you said, Alan was kind of just landing these kind of crude punches here and there, and maybe the writing was on the wall a little bit. And yeah, Fisher, I guess, I mean, to sustain that, to kind of move around the ring, just constantly circle, circle, circle. But in fairness to Allen, I mean, he showed that he could actually, pick the punch to actually put it away. Because in the first fight, he ultimately wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to, find that shot to, he obviously knocked Fisher down in the first fight, but his attack wasn't as, I don't know what's the word, as innovative as it was last night. I mean, the knockout was good. It was very accurate. I mean, that's a very accurate punch. The way he went left hook to the body, came back up top. It's a very very solid knockout. Um, so yeah, it was interesting. After what happened in the first fight, do you think this is almost a bit like has justice kind of been served a bit here? There was obviously a lot of first fight controversy. A lot of people think Dave Allen should have got the decision in the first fight. And it's almost like maybe have we had a little bit of justice for once in boxing?
Um, I don't know. I like pretty much everyone else thought that Dave Allen should have won the first fight. Um, I didn't think it was, a clear winner, but he'd done enough to, get a decision on the scorecards, I thought, which he obviously didn't in reality. But yeah, I think with Dave Allen, it's funny because Jamie Moore, his trainer, was kind of saying after the fight how the difference was that there was a bit more strength and conditioning work with Dave Allen in training, and I think obviously Jamie only had about 5 weeks with Dave Allen before the first Johnny Fisher fight. So he's obviously had a full training camp with him now. I think they've been able to work on a few things here and there. But at the same time, while I think that relationship with Jamie Moore is clearly very effective and it's working well for both of them,
Mhm.
it goes back to what I was saying before, where Dave Allen is just this kind of heavyweight who, on his day, he can just, pull a rabbit out the hat. He can just do the unthinkable almost. And yeah, that's basically what we saw on Saturday. I think he's always dangerous, and it goes back to those kind of key heavyweight attributes that don't necessarily mean an awful lot in the lower divisions, but at heavyweight, that's a real asset for you to have is that strength, that raw power,
Mhm,
and obviously the durability, which we know Dave Allen definitely has. So
mhm, mhm.
yeah, it was a good performance. And in terms of justice being served, I don't know. I think he obviously just found the finish last night. He obviously hurt Johnny in the first fight, but he was able to sort of put his foot on the gas. And as you say, he found a very good shot and that left hook.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I think maybe we actually underestimate Dave Allen's boxing skills a little bit. I think he could definitely box. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he did do like somewhat well as an amateur. I think he did compete I believe he competed for a national title. So, the guy can box. It's always been his kind of discipline, which has kind of let him down and, led to him kind of maybe losing some fights that he should have lost, shouldn't have lost. But then again, if you look at his career, he's lost to a lot of good opponents as well, which who you wouldn't expect him to beat, basically. So it's been a very it's been a very interesting career for Dave Allen, and yeah, he's definitely has a chin. I mean, that's one thing I've always admired about Dave Allen. He's definitely very very tough. He could definitely take a shot. You know, again, I don't think I've ever seen Dave Allen like sprawled on the canvas. I mean, he was stopped by Fraser Clark with that perforated eardrum. That was kind of a corner stoppage, but I can't think of Dave Allen ever being sprawled on the canvas. He's really really tough. So I mean, I mean, he is quite likable, Dave Allen. He's a little bit all over the place in terms of you don't know what you're gonna get. Like you said, he pulls the rabbit out. So you really don't know what you're gonna get with Dave Allen sometimes. And I remember seeing Eddie Hearn saying this in an interview. He was like basically saying that, if Allen is on point, then yeah, he's a solid British level fighter. If he's not, then he's not even at that level. Speaking of that, is it possible at all for Dave Allen to win a British title? Because I think that would be an amazing accomplishment for him. What's your opinion on that? Is that possible at all for Dave?
Yeah, I'd love to see him fight the winner of David Adley and Jamie TKV's rematch, which I think is going to happen. I mean, everyone's saying it will. I know there's a bit of an issue at the minute in terms of the financial side of things. I think they're just trying to work out the numbers and make that make sense. But I think that rematch will happen this year. It may even happen on that Fury, no, not Fury, Usyk Dubois 2 undercard.
Mm,
So in terms of, I guess, scheduling, Dave Allen can have a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather. And if he wants to, get sort of chucked straight back into the deep end and fight for a British title, then I think that fight makes a lot of sense for him. Obviously, Eddie and Frank have got this working relationship now, and let's
mhm,
be honest, that's a fun fight for both, Dave Allen and the winner of that British title fight because this is the level that they're at. Like, I know
mhm,
there's a bit of hype around David Adley at the minute because he obviously knocked out Solomon Dakers for whatever that's worth.
mhm, mhm,
But I think we all saw kind of in that Jamie TKV performance before controversy, like
mhm,
David Adley. I know he's with Adam Booth now, and he's sort of trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. But he's definitely got a ceiling himself in this division. Like I see Dave Adelaide being, a solid level guy, which is what Dave Allen is. So I
mhm,
think that's a really good matchup.
mhm,
Um, if David Adelaide was to, beat Jamie TKB, I wouldn't mind seeing him against Dave Allen at all. The only downside is obviously we mentioned Dave Allen's chin,
mhm,
but he is obviously very hittable. So I guess, with uh, David Adley kind of being a more proven puncher than Johnny Fisher, there's
mhm.
always that risk of, is Dave Allen kind of pushing his luck a little bit there in terms of, taking too many shots because, he's been involved in so many wars throughout that career. He's taken a hell of a lot of punishment. I can only imagine how much punishment he's taken in sparring as well. Often when Dave Allen's name gets brought up, I think back to that footage of when he sparred Usyk, and he actually got rocked in that
Oh yeah.
spar. So he clearly doesn't go easy in the gym either. So I think with Dave Allen as well, though, like we love to see him fight, and he can be involved in some really fun matchups. You also have to think about the potential consequences of being involved in these wars all the time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I mean, look, it's very easy to say when you watch someone just, just win, but I don't know. I don't think he. I think he definitely could be competitive against the winner of Jamie TKV and David Allen. Like you said, I think that is his level. Eddie Hearn even said European level. Maybe I don't know. That's maybe a bit of a stretch for Dave Allen, but definitely I think British level, British title level. I think him at his best. I think, I think that is, yeah, I think that is possible. I mean, David Adelaide, I think we have to remember as well that, before he knocked out Jamie TKV last time, he was kind of getting outboxed, and obviously there was more controversy there with the knockout and all that. So that would be an interesting one. I mean, personally, I've not been overly impressed with David Adelaide. I think that knockout of Solomon Dakers flattered him a little bit. It was a brilliant knockout, but then against TKV, he didn't look great. But back to Dave Allen, I think that's definitely what a fairy tale ending that would be for Dave Allen if he went on to win a British title. I mean, that'd be an incredible ending, and yeah, it'd be good to see. To be honest, it would be good to see. In terms of, let's go back to Johnny Fisher because Johnny Fisher, I mean, like, we've heard a lot about Fisher over the years, to be honest, and I think if we're being honest, it's been very exaggerated. I mean, Eddie Hearn has previously referred to him as a world-class prospect, which I think, is, I like Fish. I think he comes across as a good guy, but to say that, I think is, it's you have to question. I know you're trying to sell your fighter, but that's a ridiculous thing to say. But yeah, I mean, where does Fisher go from here, really? I mean, so he's not British. It's fair to say he won a seven area title, but it's fair to say he's not British. He's probably not British level at this moment in time. What would you do if you were Fisher's team? What would you do in terms of his next step?
Yeah, I think Fisher's clearly got a ceiling. Obviously, let's be honest, he's still young, so I think he's 26 years old now, which is, young for a heavyweight, and he's not really been afforded the opportunity to properly develop as a professional either, because he's kind of, he went into that Dave Allen fight, most expected him to kind of run through Dave Allen based on his performance against Fraser Clark. I think many people thought that'd be, a fairly winnable fight. Obviously, it proved otherwise, and now he's just been brutally knocked out by him.
Mhm.
So I think they'll probably get Johnny Fisher a few knockover jobs.
Mhm.
Rebuild his confidence, getting a few sort of highlight reel knockouts to get his fans, buzzing again because he's clearly got that massive fan base. And let's be honest, that fan base is what sort of that's what these promoters care about. That's why Eddie Hearn is saying what he's saying with him being a world class prospect. We all know that's not true, but
Mhm.
he's obviously invested a lot into Johnny Fisher because of this incredible fan base that he's got.
Mhm.
So I think he'll probably feature on a few little undercards here and there, knock over a few sort of taxi drivers, if you will, and
Mhm.
after that he can come back. I see him competing at British level. He could possibly win a British title, if he sort of develops his skills and um, you know,
Mhm.
just sort of adds a few more strings to his bow. He could potentially win that Lonsdale belt. He may even, get that trilogy with Dave Allen. But I think at this stage, he needs a little bit more experience. He needs a bit more time to develop, and I think that's probably what they'll do with him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's true. He's only 26 years old, and yeah, he's very young. He's very young for everyone. I agree. I can see them doing that as well. I mean, the thing with Fisher is that it doesn't matter who he faces. I think, the turnout is always going to be there. So, from Eddie Hearn's perspective, it's always kind of profitable because he knows that, even if you put Fisher on it on an undercard, he's going to sell tickets and he's going to make money. So so that's why I think Hearn is probably going to stick with him as well, and give him more opportunities because yeah, he's a ticket seller. He's gonna make money basically. Um, yeah, I guess we'll have to see in the future. I mean Fisher. I don't think I feel like there is some talent there. I mean, we have to remember he did start late. I mean, he was literally a rugby player, and then he turned over to boxing. So he's done pretty well when you consider that. That he was a rugby player. Now he's headlined the quote unquote the Copper Bosch. So yeah, we'll have to see what's next for Johnny Fisher, really. Um, One of the outcomes of Alan winning is that he is apparently going to be re-signed by Matchroom. So, I mean, that's an interesting one because I think Alan, it's fair to say, Alan, we all know Alan was signed by Matchroom in the past, and he was given a lot of opportunities, I think, by Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn gave him a lot of opportunities. Eventually, I guess Eddie Hearn kind of dropped him, but now he's being kind of re-signed. So, I mean, how are Matchroom going to play this? Because it's like, I mean, I don't think Alan wants to be used as kind of cannon fodder for like prospects and stuff like that. I think he kind of wants to stay at this level. So, what do you see Eddie Hearn kind of doing with Alan? Is it just keep him at that British level and just kind of have a space on those kind of those bigger undercards?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting story with Dave Allen because, as you say, Matchroom have always given him these opportunities, but at the same time, he's often been the B side in a lot of these fights. He has been cannon fodder for the likes of obviously Dillian White. I remember he fought back in the day. I know he had that spell where he knocked out Lucas Brown, he fought some other guy, and he was kind of gaining a bit of momentum, and then he ran into David Price and obviously got a bit of a pace in that night. Um, so yeah, as we keep saying with Dave Allen, you never quite know what you're going to get with him. But I do think he's clearly a valuable fighter for Matchroom. He's not going to go on and completely revolutionize the business, but
Mhm.
yeah, he can certainly be involved in some good fights. I think they will probably go down the British title route, to be honest. I think that makes a lot of sense. As I said, with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren's relationship, I keep saying Frank Warren as if David Adelaide's definitely going to win that rematch against TKV, which could not might not happen. We all saw the first fight, and Jamie TKV was,
Hmm.
he didn't look great doing it, but he was sort of fiddling his way to what
Yeah.
looked to be a points victory. But yeah, I think regardless of who wins that, I would like to see Dave Allen fight the winner. Um, and Eddie Hearn even said after the fight, he said Dave Allen could potentially headline a show in Sheffield at some point.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't really know about that, to be honest. I think, Matchroom's British shows over the past few months haven't been great with, the
Hmm.
likes of Dalton Smith being up against pretty terrible, well, not terrible, but like lower level opposition. And then even the Copper Box show with Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen, like it's not really, a big headline fight, is it? It's not one that's going to sort of get people's juices flowing. So I think, Dave Allen could definitely feature on an undercard here and there. I wouldn't really be too interested in seeing him headline in Sheffield, but you never know. You never know. But yeah, see if he can get that British title. I think that's quite a good route for him.
I think if they can land that British title fight in Sheffield, then that would probably make the most sense. I mean, I think that would be a big event because I think Allen would have a lot of, that'd be like his world title fight, wouldn't it? If he could win a world title in Sheffield. But yeah. Yeah, I think a few undercards is probably the most likely outcome. I mean, before this fight, there was actually question marks whether there would be a trilogy. I think it's fair to say that after that fight, I don't think anyone wants to see a trilogy after that. I think, Allen won the first fight and he won conclusively in uh in the second fight. If we're talking hypothetically, if Fisher gets more experience, gets more rounds under his belt and maybe, I don't know, somewhat learn from his mistakes and just become a better fighter, could we see a trilogy in the future? Yeah, could we see a trilogy? I mean, because Allen is 33 years old. It's possible maybe in a couple of years he might want that one final payday. And Johnny Fisher, I think even by then will still have a big fan base. Could you see a trilogy happening at all down the line?
Yeah, no, I think it definitely could happen. And I think if they did do a trilogy, even if they did a trilogy towards the end of this year, like Johnny Fisher could even win that. I think with these fights, what we're seeing is, you know, um, on any given night, the result could be completely different. I think they are actually at a similar level, Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. I know we've been talking about Dave Allen's experience and I guess his pedigree to a certain extent, but yeah, with Johnny Fisher, like we're quick to forget that in that first fight he was comfortably beating Dave Allen before getting dropped in the fifth round, and then in this fight he was sort of comfortably winning again, although he looked a bit awkward with that style that he was trying to do, the back foot stuff. So I think if he finds a bit of a blend of the two styles where he's a bit aggressive and he's on the front foot, but at the same time he's a bit more defensively responsible, then I could actually see Johnny Fisher beating Dave Allen. Um, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's true. Because I remember in that first fight, I mean, in those first few rounds, he was kind of winning the first few rounds on Saturday, but he wasn't really winning them big. I felt like, yeah, I think it was in Riyadh. Yeah, he was winning them. He was putting his punches together a lot more better, and I think it suited him more. And I've actually watched the interview of Johnny Fisher since then, and he did say that. He said that, that suits him more. It feels a little bit alien to him to kind of box on the back foot. He is more of a front foot fighter. He wants to let his hands go. And yeah, I mean, the first fight, yeah, I mean, it's easy to say he performed better, but he actually did perform better. And I think if he would have gotten Allen's respect in the early rounds, then maybe, who knows, maybe later on it would have been harder for Allen to find that punch. But it's all hypothetical. End of the day, credit to Dave Allen for producing probably one of the best performances of his career. How much credit do you think we should give to Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis? Um, eh, like what's like where's is it just maturity of Dave Allen? Is this why he's kind of I mean he's had big wins before. I mean Lucas Brown, that's always the one he says that was his big win. But Yeah, do we owe a bit of credit to Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis for what they've done in the last couple fights?
Yeah, I think we definitely do, to be honest. Like Jamie Moore's obviously a quality trainer. Um, the work he's done with, Jack Catterall and even Carl Frampton towards the end of his career, I think he's proven himself as, real top level trainer. And obviously Nigel Travis is a bit of a character himself. I can see him and Dave Allen sort of bouncing off of each other. And I think more than anything, it's the relationship that they've got. Like Jamie Moore was saying after the fight, how with Dave Allen in the past, he's often questioned himself and he's often had these battles with mental health, and the confidence hasn't always been there. But now I think, Jamie Moore's clearly, whatever he's done, he's clearly restored a bit of that self-belief into Dave Allen. And I think that obviously, they're never going to turn Dave Allen into a Pernell Whitaker or, a Floyd Mayweather. But I
Mhm.
think in terms of the mental side of the game, it's definitely, a really good fit. And I think ultimately, if you're involved in what is classed as, pretty high level training setup, you've obviously got Jack Catterall and Pat Brown in that gym as well.
Mm.
These are good fighters to kind of surround yourself with. I think, that can only be good news for Dave Allen, who's obviously, as you said, struggled with discipline in the past. I think, if he's seen that the work that these other guys are putting in, and he's obviously being inspired by what Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis are saying to him, then obviously that can only be a good thing, really.
That's a great point of view. I mean, that's good company to have, definitely. I mean, Pat Brown is obviously very highly touted for big things. And Jack Catterall, even though he's coming off a loss, he's a lot of people see him as a world level fighter. A lot of people believe he should have been undisputed. So it's good company to have, definitely. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in to this episode. If you like this episode, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.